Too often we focus on large changes. We focus on those big milestones, those ginormous things that we've done that indicate that we are making progress. And we often overlook those small places where we are having wins that also are significant indications that something is going on, that we're moving in the right direction. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. Welcome to my 100-day walk to consistency. I'm happy that you're here. Welcome back to day number 44. And today we're talking about celebrating those small wins. When we do that, we set ourselves up for tremendous success. Remember, consistency is the key. Consistency is your superpower. And we are each day doing something. We're putting another piece to the puzzle that allows us to be consistent and ultimately to be successful. Hey, welcome back. I hope that you have been working. I hope that you've been walking or rowing, whatever you've been doing over these last several weeks, that we've been walking and that we have been working on consistency. I'm glad that you're here. Let's go ahead. Let's get started. I'll see you on the walk. So today we're talking about celebrating small wins. Now, I know that small wins can sometimes seem insignificant. They seem like they really don't matter. But I want to convince you differently. I want to let you know that they are significant in our path to victory and in our path to success. While they may seem as though they're just inching along, those inches, they add up. Remember, we did a conversation where we talked about the compound effect, the compounding of the things that we do, the compounding of small, consistent steps over time. I'm waiting for this truck to go by. That will set us up for success. And so that's really kind of an expanded concept of what we're talking about today. That as we're moving in the direction for what we're doing, here we're talking about our health, improving our health. There are going to be places where we have just small, seemingly creeping steps that we will have as we're moving in that direction. And if we're not careful, we will tend to overlook those, and we're missing the opportunity to celebrate and to give ourselves that boost, that quick pick me up, if you will, sometimes. That really does help in promoting our success. So we're going to talk today about that and what does it mean and how do we celebrate. That's right, I like celebration. It's a little cooler today, as you see, compared to some of the other days, but that's all right. We are out anyway. I was on my way home and thought that we'd stop off here and just have one of these discussions. So what are some of the key points that I want you to take away from this conversation? Number one, when we celebrate those small wins, they help to build momentum. Once again, this whole idea of the compounding effect. Remember, if we are consistent, if we're doing the things that we need to do over time, then those things begin to build. It's kind of like a snowball. All right, I love those old movies where they're out skiing and somebody yells, "Yo-lay-hoo!" You remember those old movies? And then all of a sudden, a little bit of snow begins rolling. And it rolls and it rolls. And after a while, it begins picking up and it's getting faster. And all of a sudden, there's this massive amount of snow that has accumulated into this snowball that's now rolling down the hill. And you know what? I don't want to be at the bottom of that hill when that snowball shows up. You know why? Because the massive momentum that it's gathered as it's moved through that space is tremendous. And if you are the one at the bottom, then, oh, heaven help you, okay? But if you were at the top and you're looking at those little trickles of snow, you'd say, oh, this is not going to really do anything. But that's the power of momentum. That's the power of celebrating those small victories. Here in the health space, right? We started out with one day, and here we are, day number 44, and we're heading right to day 100. And so every day as we're moving through this space, I'm celebrating every day that we end up and we're finished with one of these episodes. I'm celebrating because that's another part of the puzzle that's helping to build the momentum. So number one, it helps build momentum. If you are working on weight, you can't wait till you've lost 10 pounds, right? Because the weight's gonna come off, and if you wait till 10, there's sometimes you're gonna go 1 down, 2 up, 2 down, 2 up, 2 down, 3 up. And if you're waiting until you've lost that 10 pounds, then you might be waiting for a little bit, right? Remember we said that our current recommendation and our thoughts to patients and clients is that you're losing a half a pound to a pound a week. So let's say you accelerated and it's 1 pound a week. We're talking about 10 weeks before we get to the place where we have reached our goal. And so you can't wait until you've completely reached that goal to celebrate, okay? So each time you get on that scale, each time you see a half a pound, each time you see a pound that's gone, that's a reason for celebration. And that, when you step on the scale and you see that, you're building momentum. You're like, okay, I can do this. Yeah. And so that helps set you up for success. So number one, it helps you build momentum. Number two, it motivates you, right? And it gives you that boost. Now, I'll tell you, when I get on that scale and I see that a pound has been gone, like I just came back from a trip, and over the course of that trip, you know how we do, right? There were some things that weren't quite on my meal plan that ended up, I'm not sure how it ended up on my plate, but there it was on my plate, and I ate it. And when I got back home, I stepped on that scale, and yeah, there was some things there, right? And so I'm back now, and back on my eating plan, and so I stepped on the scale, and I'm down a pound, and then I'm down a pound, and then I'm down a half a pound, and every time I see that thing tick off, I'm like, yes, right? So it is a boost that you get with celebrating those wins. Every time you see a win, every time you acknowledge it, every time you celebrate it, there's this boost that you get to your spirit, and it really helps you to keep going. And then the other thing is that it is psychological reinforcement. That's the thing right there, psychological reinforcement. There is so much, I don't want to say doubt, but there's a lot that goes into being healthy. There's a lot that goes into being successful. And we want as much support as is possible as we're moving in that direction. We've talked about the inner coach. We've talked about the inner critic. And the inner coach needs as much support, if you will, as possible to allow the coach to be there to support you. And so when you're celebrating, it gives another peg, another ring, another check mark, another indication to your inner coach that, hey, this is something that we do. That's right. We set these goals, and here we are. We're ticking them off. It's kind of like driving on the highway. When I'm driving on the highway, there's this game I play with myself when I'm going long distances. I'm counting. I'm like, I should be at this point at this time. I should be here. Even within a state, I'm like, okay, how many of these mile markers am I gonna hit in the next hour, right? So all of that gives me energy, and it gives me the ability to be successful because it helps to reinforce the things that are going on, or reinforce the ideas that I have. When it comes to health, Many times we've tried some things before. We've been on a diet. We've tried managing our nutrition. We've tried being emotionally intelligent and mindful and all the things that we talked about. And we may be in a state of a little bit depression, right? Because we're like, when is this going to give me the benefit that everybody says I'm going to get? And when you see those mile markers, when you see those little milestones and you begin to celebrate them, that really does help to reinforce your psychological resilience, and says, okay, we can do this. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep at it, right? So reinforces the psychological energy. So positive reinforcement is so important to the things that we do, because that really helps support, helps give a boost, like the winds beneath your wings. They're doing some construction here in the area that I'm walking. Okay, so let's do a little deep dive into this idea of celebration. And let's talk about two people. I want to talk about Christy and I'll talk about John. So Christy's job was becoming frustrating. And so Christy started eating as her buffering behavior. And so she put on weight. And so the goal then became, hey, I've got to do something to lose weight. And so she thought about a bunch of different things. And one of the things that she came up with was that she was going to begin drinking water. She was going to add 1 glass of water per day to her regimen, and this was her way of beginning to do something for herself. And so Christy, each day that she drank that glass of water, she put a little check mark in her journal. And at first it was tough, but you know what got Christy was that after a few days, week of trying this maybe, she noticed one day that she had done 3 check marks. That the last 3 days she'd done it. And she was like, oh man, I can do this. And so just the sight of those 3 check marks in a row encouraged her to do it. And so day after day she would go. She's drinking water. Now, here's the beauty of what happens, is because she became consistent with drinking water, now she had a boost. And so psychologically she was like, you know what? I can make a change to my diet. And so she started making changes to her diet. And so she started walking and she started improving her sleep. And so gradually over time, that check mark kept going. And it eventually led into, when we talked about those keystone habits, it led into other things. And so Christy now is down 25 pounds. That's right. All because she became consistent. She began celebrating. And that's the key. Those check marks were a celebration. They were a place where she indicated that, hey, I'm doing this. And so it was a boost. It was a boost that she got, that all the things that we just talked about. Okay. All right. And then John was a writer. He says he was a writer, but guess what? John wasn't writing. And so his challenge to himself was he was going to write 200 words a day. 200 words a day. And to celebrate, what John was going to do is in his calendar, he was going to put a little star. You know those little stars that you get in kindergarten? That's right. They put it in your book and they send it home. And mom is so excited to see it. Well, John decided that he was going to get some of those same stars and he was just going to put it on the calendar. So every time he ended the day by writing 200 words, then he would put a little star, on the calendar. And so at first it was tough. And John looked down in his calendar and there were weeks where there was 1 star or 2 stars every other day. And guess what happened? Yeah, it was the same thing, right? He looked down one day and there were 4 stars in a row. He had written 200 words a day for 4 days. And so that little start, that little celebration that John began doing for himself, turned into the consistency that he needed. The celebration that he did, the celebration that helped him to move in the direction for success. And so, John is out there getting his book done. Okay. In fact, I talked to one of his colleagues that was helping with some stuff that I'm working on. Okay. But the celebration that happened in both of those instances those are the things that helped to propel them. Had they not done that, then days and weeks and maybe years would have gone by without them taking steps to be successful, right? So there's this psychological thing that happens, as we mentioned before. Now, one of the most powerful, let's see, should we go down that way? Let's try this way. One of the most powerful things that happens as a result of celebration is the dopamine effect. Yeah, you guys know dopamine? So dopamine is that feel-good hormone, that reward hormone, the hormone that almost actually sometimes is an anticipatory hormone. That is, you have something that you like, right? And when you get it, you get a dopamine burst. That's why food is so compelling. I was going to use a different word. That's why food is so compelling. Because when you eat the food, you get a dopamine burst. That's why chocolate is so delicious, right? Not only do you get the sugar, but you get that instant energy, and that energy gives you dopamine. And that dopamine comes out. So sometimes even as you're thinking about eating chocolate, you get the dopamine. So that's why they said it's also the anticipatory hormone, because you don't have to necessarily get it to feel the burst, right? It's kind of like those, remember those dogs, Pavlov's dogs, where they tied behavior or a sound to food, and then the sight to food. So all of those things happen in our bodies as well. So number one, we get that dopamine. They're still doing some construction over there. The moment we get that dopamine burst, okay? The dopamine that comes out pushes us, stimulates us, encourages us to get more. Now, we've talked about this in a negative sense, right? When it comes to food and other addictive behaviors and even some buffering behaviors. But we can use that in a positive way, because when you see that reward for that short, little, maybe seemingly obscure, that obscure win that you've had, that small win that doesn't seem like it's doing anything, your body notices, your brain notices, and it says, oh man, that felt good. Right? And so now, let's do that again. Okay, now I see another little check mark on my calendar. I see another star. Or I see somebody else that says to me, hey, you did a good job. Or I step on the scale and I see another half a pound that's gone down. All of those things will stimulate the dopamine. And that wants you, your body, your mind, wants to get more of that. And so this is a positive way of using that dopamine effect to build those habits, because your body now will go ahead and help you. It will find ways to help you get that dopamine burst. Okay? So dopamine, one of the most important parts of the celebration. It helps you. The next thing is incremental progress and motivation. Incremental progress and motivation. When we look at people who are successful, when we look at people who are doing their thing, as we say, right? Living that life, living that dream, being successful, what we find is that there is incremental success that they look at. So yes, there is this grand scheme, this grand plan that they have, but what they're celebrating, what they're looking for, are those small, seemingly insignificant places where they're getting success. And they become more resilient because they've seen the successes along the way. So when something doesn't go the way they thought it would go, when something doesn't go the way they planned that it should go, it's not a big deal because they have seen successes. They've seen those small places. They've been celebrating those things. So it's incremental and it is beneficial. And it helps them to be more resilient. It helps them to be able to resist when things are not quite the way they think it should be. I'll be right back. Hold on. All right, I'm back. And my jacket was just fluttering all over the place. And so here I am. I'm actually walking in one of our areas where there's a Top Golf right there. You guys see in the background? Okay. This is a nice little area that they're building up. But anyway, all right. So back to this incremental progress. So what studies have shown is that one of the greatest ways of improving morale in workers is to have them do something where they're seeing progress for a worthwhile idea or worthwhile function. So what better worthwhile function than your improved health? Whether you're losing weight, you're improving your blood sugars, you're working on becoming more flexible, more mobile, you've had a stroke and you're in physical therapy and now you are out walking gradually, and you're seeing small, and notice I keep saying that word, I keep saying that phrase, small benefits, right? Because I want you to understand that it is the small, consistent things over time that are giving us the benefit, right? So you're seeing those things, and that is a worthwhile task. And so if you are having progress in a worthwhile task, that boosts your morale, okay? And then the marshmallow effect. So they did some studies, and these were with kids. And so they offered kids a marshmallow for something that they did right now. So here's your reward. You can have a marshmallow right now, or you could wait 15 minutes and you can get 2 marshmallows later on. And what they found was the people who were able to delay and to wait for the 2 marshmallows ended up doing generally better down the road, whether it's in their health, their BMI, their weight, their profession. They were more successful. Okay? So what does that mean? That means that if we're able to delay the gratification that we get, then we're more likely to be successful. Now you're saying, wait a minute, you're telling us to celebrate along the way and now you're telling us to delay? No, what I'm saying is that when you celebrate along the way, when you celebrate those small little things, then waiting for that big thing becomes a non-issue, right? So now you have the capacity, you have the ability, you have the wherewithal to say, you know what? Yeah, I know that I'm not down 15, 20 pounds. But look at this, I'm down half a pound, I'm down 2 pounds, I'm down 3 pounds. I know my blood sugars are not down at 100, 120 as they told me it should be. But look at that, I'm 2 milligrams per deciliter lower. My A1C is half a point lower. My cholesterol levels are better, right? And I'm celebrating each of those. So I now have the ability to delay the frustration that I may feel because I think things aren't going the way I thought they should go. Yeah, it's okay now. It's a non-issue because I am celebrating along the way. It gives me the resilience, it gives me the fortitude, it gives me the power to delay gratification because I am celebrating on the way. You guys tell I get excited about this one. Because this thing right here, I'll tell you, can I be honest with you? This is one that I struggled with because I want it now. Like sometimes, here's a silly example. Sometimes I don't like to shop online. You know why? Because I can't get it now. I want to go to the store. I want to see it. I want to touch it, feel it, pick it up, take it home. Right? I want it now. And so for me, in this area, I've really had to work on this. And so I'm excited when I'm able to say to people, look, this is a real thing. This works, right? So now I'm getting on that scale. And you know what I'm celebrating? I'm celebrating that 1 pound. Now I'm looking at my blood sugar. You know what I'm celebrating? I'm celebrating that 2-point drop, that 3-point drop, that 10-point drop. I'm celebrating the changes that I'm seeing along the way. Okay? So very, very, very important. So how do we go about this process of celebrating small wins? And there are a couple of steps. So grab your journal and let's talk about them. Number one, you want to evaluate and identify what is a small incremental win for you in this process that you're doing, in this goal that you've set, right? So this goes back to SMART goals, right? So we'll take those goals, we're gonna break them up, and we're gonna begin putting them together. But what is a goal? What is a small goal that is along the way of what you wanna do? And you can begin setting these up as mileposts so that when you see them, when you get there, you can celebrate, but you know that you're heading in the right direction, okay? So that's the first thing you wanna do. You're setting up, you're identifying these goals. So nutritionally, for example, with Christy, her goal was to add water. What's your goal? Maybe you add a vegetable. Maybe currently you don't eat vegetables. Maybe you add a vegetable to your meal once a week, once a day. Maybe you are, maybe you're trying to fast, right? And you've not been able to fast. And you say, okay, I'm gonna add 1 extra hour to my fasting time. Now I can only do 8 hours. Right, you're trying to get to 16. You're trying to get to an extended fast. Okay, nutritionally, what are you doing? What are you doing? Exercise, and we've talked about that here, right? So we do a 20-minute mile, so that's 3 miles an hour. 20, 20, 20, right? 3 miles an hour. Maybe you're going to do a 15-minute mile. If you do a 15-minute mile, you guess what? That's 4 miles an hour, right? So you're going to do something small, something incremental. And if I can add that, now I know. Right? Maybe I add a few more steps. Maybe I add 10 steps, 100 steps to my day. Maybe right now I only do 200 steps. Let's do 250. Maybe I do 2,000. Let's do 3,000. Right? So small changes that you're going to make that will set you up for success. And then mental health. So small could be, I'm going to take 5 minutes today for myself. Normally, I do everything for everybody else and I just, fall out in bed. But today, I'm going to do some self-care, and I'm going to take 5 minutes for myself where I'm actually doing some bookends, where we talk about bookending. We talk about setting ourselves up for success by the end of the day routine. So what are you going to do? It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be large. Remember, these are incremental steps that we're going to be celebrating. So find whatever the goal is, break it up, get those incremental steps that you're going to add. So if you say, okay, I'm going to add 100 steps a day. So every day that you add 100 steps, guess what? Mark it off. Okay. All right. Number 2, you want to create a recognition system. Now, I mentioned those stars for the little kids. Maybe it's a checkbox, a check mark. Maybe it's a to-do list. Maybe it's a calendar. Maybe it's to have a friend of yours that calls you, right? Whatever it's going to be, you got to find a system where when you celebrate, I'm celebrating. And don't make this, it's just some, I want you to celebrate it. I want you to make note of it. Several years ago, I was in a group, and my YouTube channel, I think at the time, well, I shouldn't say I think, at the time, we were just coming up on 1 year. And I looked at my subscribers, and I think we had, I don't know, maybe 300-400 subscribers. And I said to myself, oh, I'm coming up on a year. I don't have that many subscribers. I'm not going to do anything to celebrate. And I had someone in the group that said to me, no. This is a marker. This is a mile marker. You can't wait down the road to celebrate. Celebrate right now. And I'll tell you, I'm so excited that I celebrated. And so every year now, on the anniversary of my channel, I celebrate. This past year, we celebrated 4 years. And so I had people send me shout outs. We did a 24-hour stream, which was the first time I had done anything like that. And it was just amazing. So I want you to make this a big deal. Celebrate it. Celebrate each of those things. The next thing is you want to make sure that it's visible, right? So not just inside of you saying, okay, I'm celebrating. No. I want you to put it where it's visible. I want you to make put a star, put a map, whatever it is, right? Use an app so that you can track all of these things, and then you're celebrating. And then you want to document, journal about it. Get in there and begin writing. What does this mean? What are you feeling? What are you learning? What have been some of the exciting points for you? What have been some of the challenges that you've had to deal with? Begin putting all of that together, and when you do that, you will find that you are able to go back and look at those later on, and you can learn from them, okay? And then you want to tell somebody. Community, so important. Tell somebody about the successes that you are having, okay? When you share it, not only do you encourage yourself, but you also encourage all those people around you that may not be doing the things because they think that they can't. But when they see you do it, say, hey, if Dwain can do it, if Dr. Woode can do it, if Christy can do it, if John can do it, certainly I can do that as well, okay? So it encourages you, and it encourages the people around you, right? So be mindful of that you are also building the community. And then what I want you to do is take action. I was going to say pick something and start, but take action. If it's on the paper, if it's in your book, if it's in your journal, and you are not doing something, it's just some theory, but it comes to life when you begin taking action. So I want you to make sure that you're doing that. This conversation right here is amazing. This is one of those keystone that we talked about, right? So we're talking about keystone habits that are setting us up for consistency and setting us up for success. Celebrating those small wins is one of those keystone things, right? And look what I walked up to, right there. Yeah, I'm gonna turn around so you can see. Look at what I'm next to. That's right. That's do I see it? Oh, can you see it? Yeah, there you go. Fast food restaurant. Isn't that interesting? Okay. All right. So we can't. That's our conversation. But we can't go without talking to you about the challenge. And the challenge really comes right from what I just described. So get your journal, and here's your challenge. I want you to identify one clear, actionable goal that you can reach. And try to find something, right? So we're going to begin small. Find something that you can reach by the end of today. Okay, I'm going to drink 2 glasses of water. I'm going to walk for 10 minutes. I'm going to walk an extra 100 steps. I'm going to fast another hour. Okay? That's number 1. Number 2, identify what your reward system is going to be. Go out and buy some stars. Get a magic marker, a big magic marker, red one. Get a calendar, put it up on your wall, put it on your refrigerator. Okay? What are you going to do? How are you going to celebrate this? And each time you accomplish something during the day, for example, you drink a glass of water, you drink half a glass of water, you take a sip of water, get over there and check it. Put a star. Okay? And you have to figure out, how to what the intervals are. Right? But put a star, put a check mark. Keep a visual account of what's going on. Don't let it just be theory in your head. Something you can actually look and see what's going on. You can see that there is some benefit that you're having, okay? And then take a minute at the end, when you've gotten to the end, right? And each time you put that, you're celebrating. I want you to reflect. I want you to write in your journal, what did I learn today? I can do this. I can drink water. I can walk an extra step. I can fast an extra hour. I can, whatever it is that you're learning, go ahead and make sure that that's in your journal. And then share it with somebody. Find somebody to let know that, hey, this is what I did today. This is the successes that I had today. Share that with somebody so that you can have some accountability and you can have somebody to celebrate with you. Got it? So celebration of those small wins is so important. I want to make sure that you're doing all that you want to do, all that you need to do to be successful. In this 100-day walk to consistency, we're learning so many keystone habits and keystone principles that will set you up for success down the road. You can be successful in your health, but also you can extrapolate, and this can be used in so many different areas in your life, okay? That's that domino effect that we talked about. So make sure that you are following, make sure that you're doing all of those things that we need to do, okay? And that you're setting yourself up for success. Make sure you're doing the challenges, make sure you're doing the workbook. Definitely, okay? So celebrating small wins isn't just about feeling good. Isn't just about feeling that moment. It's about what we need to do to ultimately be successful in our lives. And when you celebrate those small wins, what you're doing is you're helping your body, helping your mind to say, hey, I can do this. I am excited that you're here. I'm excited that we are working each day, each little tool that we do, each little episode that we do, not little, but each episode that we do, we're adding another part to the puzzle. I'm glad that you're here on day number 44. Join me tomorrow on day number 45, where we'll add another key, another concept, another keystone principle that will help us be consistent and help us to be successful. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for Endocrinology. Thank you for joining me for day number 44. We'll see you on day 45. All right, bye-bye.